There's Hooey, Ballyhooey, Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pen.
Start talking. It's your nickel. Who? Disassociated Press? The public has been demanding my life story? Well, I can tell it to you right over the phone. You got your pencil ready? First, I was born, which goes without saying. But even in the hospital the day I arrived, I knew I was different from the other kids. I couldn't figure out why at first. Then suddenly it came to me. I was a rabbit in a human world.
That's how Warner Brothers chose to celebrate Bugs Bunny's 10th anniversary in 1950 with a career retrospective in the animated short. What's up, Doc? Welcome to our Bugs Bunny 80th anniversary celebration. I am Yvette Nicole Brown, and over the next hour, we're going to have an entertaining, informative discussion about one of animation's most beloved and internationally recognizable characters. As part of that celebration, you'll also hear for the first time about Warner Brothers Home Entertainment's upcoming release of the Bugs Bunny 80th Anniversary Collection. It's 60 specially remastered classic Bugs Bunny cartoons, some of which you have never seen before, coming later this fall. Now let's meet our panelists. First up is George Feltenstein, Senior Vice President of Theatrical Catalog Marketing for Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. He knows everything about Warner Brothers. Up next is Jerry Beck. He is a renowned animation historian, prolific author, college professor, and proprietor of the highly regarded website Animation Scoop. Up next is the Leonard Maltin. He is a movie historian, author, TV personality, and one of the best-known film critics in American history. Next is Peter Browngardt. He's the creator, executive producer, and voice of Uncle Grandpa, and executive producer of Looney Tunes Cartoons, the new series on HBO-MAX. Next is Eric Bauza. He is one of the most in-demand voice actors working today. His credits include being the current official voice of Woody Woodpecker, Fozzie Bear, and now Bugs Bunny in the latest incarnation of the classic character shorts, Looney Tunes Cartoons, which is now streaming as a tentpole of the original programming on HBO-MAX. Next is Jeff Bergman. He's a popular voice heard throughout animation and live action entertainment today. Jeff provides the lead voice for Showtime's Our Cartoon President, which I love, and is regularly featured as a variety of voices on Family Guy. He has provided the voice of Bugs Bunny in numerous films, TV specials, shorts, and video games, including Tiny Toons Adventures, The Looney Tunes Show, and New Looney Tunes, and the 1991 short Blooper Bunny, which is included in the 80th anniversary box set. Up next is Billy West. He is a legend in the voice acting community and has been for more than 3 decades, logging hundreds of credits in everything from Futurama to Disenchantment, including being the lead voice of both Doug and 1999's The Woody Woodpecker Show. He was also the voice of Bugs Bunny in a number of films, shorts, and video games, most notably opposite Michael Jordan in Space Jam. Welcome, guys. Okay, so guys, it's time to move on to the questions. First of all, welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you here to talk all things bugs. 80 years of bugs. All right, so I'm going to start my first question, and this is for Billy, Eric, and Jeff. I don't think we could start this off without each of you giving us your famous version of Bugs. What's up, Doc? I need it. Can we have it?
Okay.
Yeah, what's up, Doc?
Me, what's up, Doc?
Great.
Man, what's up? Hey, listen, is this a Daffy Duck panel? How come there's no Daffy? Oh, sorry. I'll go. Yeah, what's up, Doc? Bugs Bunny. Never heard of him.
You guys, this
Ain't
is like,
we all stinkers?
oh, it's my whole childhood coming to life. Thank you so much for that. This question is for Leonard, Jerry, and George. Bugs Bunny didn't start out being called by that name or having the classic look that we've come to know. So there's an example in Elmer's Candid Camera. It's included in the new box set so that we see Bugs in his original form. So how did the rabbit initially evolve into the Bugs Bunny we finally met in A Wild Hair?
Well, I mean, Bugs was not created by one individual. He was sort of a kind of the zeitgeist of the studio in some ways. And the idea of rabbit hunting and hunting in general, but rabbit hunting, duck hunting was a thing. Very funny cartoons came out of that. There were one finally where Porky Pig is hunting a rabbit. It doesn't look anything like Bugs Bunny. And that went over really well. So they came up with another cartoon with another hunter and by another director. And almost everybody had their shot at doing such a cartoon. And finally, by 1940, Tex Avery did his shot, put his personality into the character, and a couple of things that had been picked up from the previous, animators before, the certain things of the look, certain parts of the attitude. But this time they twisted, Mel Blanc a little bit. Avery gave him that "What's up, Doc" signature line, because that was a thing that he was doing. It's actually in a lot of Avery cartoons before that first cartoon. And it just, that one is the one that crystallized right there. And although he doesn't even look like the final version of Bugs that we all know, that the personality is there. And that's the beginning of Bugs Bunny.
Okay, let's take a look at the moment that started it all in A Wild Hare, directed by Tex Avery.
What's up, Doc?
Shh, there's a wabbit down there, and I'm trying to catch him.
What do you mean, wabbit?
Wabbits. You know, with big, long ears.
Oh, like this?
Yeah, and a little white, fluffy tail.
Like this?
Yup. And he hops around and around.
Oh, like this?
You know, I believe this fella is a R-A-B-B-I-T. Pardon me, but you know, you look just like a rabbit.
Come here. Listen, Doc. Now, don't spread this around. But, confidentially, I am a rabbit! Last look.
Okay, guys, so we're back out of the clip. I wanted to know this question. In the beginning, the biggest star of Merry Melodies animation was Porky. Then there was Daffy Duck, and then there was Bugs. So what were the circumstances around Bugs being created, and what transpired that allowed Bugs to kind of elevate to that lead role?
Well, Porky came along. Porky was originally part of a duo for a cartoon about school children. These are all animated animals, anthropomorphized animals.
Yes.
So he was part of a duo in a classroom setting named Porky and Beans. And the fact that none of us is wearing a T-shirt featuring Beans.
Yeah, I'm like, who's Beans?
and then within a year, the studio hired the great Mel Blanc. And Mel's wonderful voice work and his ability to turn what would normally be a stutter into kind of a comic routine of its own made him more appealing and likable. And so again, he evolved too, but he came out of the original mandate of the cartoon department under Leon Schlesinger to make cute cartoons. When Tex Avery arrived on the scene around the same time as Porky, he started pushing the cartoons toward wackier, crazier gags.
They're funny. They are hysterically funny, especially the older cartoons.
And it's funny because so many cartoons are influenced by that. Pete, Eric, Billy, I'm sure you've been in other sessions and other series, and there's like a rhythm, a timing that a Bugs Bunny cartoon has. And it's like, well, give us that Daffy, to give us the Looney, give us that Zany or the Groucho kind of read. You just can't go anywhere and not find their presence, their style.
You know what the best thing about all of it is that these cartoons were considered throwaways as far as the industry at large. You know, they just, while people were getting popcorn and Coca-Colas, you know, that was what was playing on the screen. Mm-hmm. And they became postmodernism. You know, they're more famous and more well-known than any of the movies they opened up for.
A lot of people don't realize, and the younger people certainly wouldn't know or realize, that they were not made for television. They were not.
That's what I was going to ask you. That was my question. Go, Leonard, go.
Okay, well, they were made to be seen alongside feature films in theaters. In fact, you couldn't go to a movie theater in 1935 or 40 or 45 or 50 or right through the late 50s without seeing at least one cartoon. You saw a newsreel. Sometimes you saw a travelogue. You certainly saw previews of coming attractions.
Yeah.
You might have seen a second feature on a double bill, and you always got a cartoon. Always, always, always. Where I was growing up in Bergen County, New Jersey, I even knew which theaters showed the best cartoons. Wow. Which were, of course, the Warner Brothers cartoons.
Can you guys talk about the evolution of how they went from being, just shorts in films to making it to television?
No one ever dreamt there would be package deals. No one ever dreamt that there would be life, after their time. Television, was invented around 48 or something. And, and I remember in like the late 50s, first seeing reruns or actually first runs on TV of Warner Brothers cartoons. And they caught on that way. People stopped seeing them in the movie theaters, and you got a whole new generation that came along of nuts like me and Jeff and Eric, sitting there mesmerized, like blown away, just fractured at this sound that was coming out, and who on earth could be doing this? And once you figured out that it was one guy and you just saw 20 characters, I was rearranged molecularly, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. They were also educational. They taught me how to read Roman numerals.
So you could figure out the copyright.
Exactly.
We also learned great classical music from them.
Yes. They tutored me in classical music.
For the uninitiated in the audience, can you guys tell us what the difference is between Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes when it comes to the animated shorts?
Cartoons were in demand in the 1930s. Everybody wanted Mickey Mouse. Every studio had to provide cartoons. Long story without talking, Warner Brothers hooked up with Leon Schlesinger. They started doing a series called Looney Tunes, which featured their Mickey Mouse character, a character named Bosco. And then the second year, they decided, let's do what Disney's doing, which come out with a second set, which is non-character, which is called Merry Melodies, which Disney was doing Mickey Mouse and Silly Symphonies. Warner Brothers did Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. As the years went by during the 30s, the Merry Melodies went to full color, and the Looney Tunes with their starring character, whoever that was, Bosco, Buddy, Beans, Porky, remained in black and white. I believe, George, you would know, I believe they sold them as two separate series, Looney Tunes separately and Merry Melodies. I think that's the case. And then by the 40s, they went all color, and they didn't care which cartoons had the stars or not. And they all became the same. But I think they still kept the two designations because they were just so famous by that point.
It was like, from 1943 on, it was flipping a coin what would be a Looney Tunes and what would be a Merry Melodies. But a very important point that goes back to the beginning that is interesting, I think, the reason why they're called Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies is also because with the coming of sound, Warner Brothers purchased 3 huge music publishing companies.
Right.
Harms, Remick, and Whitmark. And they had these huge song catalogs. And on top of it, there were songs being written for Warner Brothers movies. So the idea for the cartoons originally was not as much to have characters, but to popularize songs that the studio owned. So they'd go to Friz Freleng and they'd say, make a cartoon called Shuffle Off to Buffalo. Or they'd go to Texas and say, make a cartoon called I Love to Singa. And sometimes the result was absolute genius. That was kind of the early era. It was Porky that really burst through as the first star, as Leonard pointed out, followed by Daffy and then Bugs. But the initial concept of the cartoons was not to do anything more than to help popularize songs that Warner Brothers owned.
There's a murderer's row of animation directors that handled Bugs at Termite Terrace over the years. They included Tex Avery, Chuck Jones, Friz Freeling, Frank Toshling, Bob Clampett, Robert McKimson. What did each of these legends bring to Bugs Bunny, the historians amongst us? Can you tell us what these great directors brought?
I compare Bugs, as George did a little while ago, to a top movie star, say Humphrey Bogart or Jimmy Cagney. And he was always Jimmy Cagney, he was always Humphrey Bogart, and Bugs was always recognizably Bugs, except he sounded a little different, acted a little different, his posture, his attitude, they were always slightly different, and that's because of the imposition of different directors.
Right.
And so real diehard film buffs or Warner Brothers cartoon buffs can watch a cartoon with no main title on it and tell you who directed it. Now, how is that possible? He's the same Bugs Bunny, and yet that is a truth.
You could tell who directed who. The war years, you can see Bob Clampett all over it, and he's the one that made the craziest Daffy. I think he had a lot of rock and roll in him, or a lot of energy. I always called the Chuck Jones Bugs the Tang Bugs.
Well, he had a very, distinct style. That was one of the first things he directed me on, Chuck Jones. Yeah. And when I walked in, it was only a 3-minute title sequence for Gremlins 2, and he had model sheets. They were like this thick, and we went through. It was 3 minutes of dialogue. That's all it was. It must have been 2 hours, and we went through every single one. And I was very, very nervous, and so I think I just said, well, I'm going to try to do the best I can to try to be as close as I can to Mel or whatever. He goes, he did what I told him to do. He read it like the way I told him to. So after that, I didn't say anything. I just did exactly what I was told, and that was it. But he kind of reminded me of Daffy Duck in a way.
Jones said himself that Daffy was who he. Well, I'm saying it backwards, but Daffy was who he was. Bugs was what he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Well, George, can you please tell the audience what they can expect in the Bugs Bunny 80th anniversary collection?
Well, this is going to be something that fans have wanted for a very long time. So it's been many years since the company has put together a collection on Blu-ray disc dedicated to what I consider to be the most popular of all the Warner Brothers cartoon stars, Bugs Bunny. He's right up there with Betty Davis and Bogart, in terms of who created the DNA of the studio's history. And what we wanted to do here is have 20 cartoons that had been out before, but that are basically essential. And then have 40 cartoons that either had never been on Blu-ray or never been remastered at all, or they were not released in the proper Academy aspect ratio. And so the result of this new set is a combination of recent high-definition masters, as well as several dozen brand new restored masters coming off original elements. And it goes from the great classic early cartoons to the very end of Bugs' tenure. The last one was in 63 or 64, Jerry.
Well, released in 64, False Hair. I'm doing the audio commentary on that.
Okay. So for some reason, they spared Bugs appearing in the later cartoons that were distributed by the studio, but not made by the studio, because Studio's animation studio closed down. The studio was no longer making cartoons. Theater owners still wanted them, so Friz Freleng and David DePatie made films independently with Daffy Duck and Speedy Gonzales, and thankfully they left Bugs out of those cartoons because I'm not particularly fond of them. But none of those are here because what we have here is beautiful Bugs, as well as some very, very new iterations of Bugs that extraordinarily pay homage to the sensibility of the originals and yet are very much products of today. And that's the excitement about this set. No less the fact that it is filled with special features and commentaries, which some of you people may have provided, I believe.
Well, some of these wonderful 60 cartoons have never been released on home video before.
Wow.
Some of the titles that they wanted that are spotlighted are Racketeer Rabbit, Rabbit
Oh, that's
Every
a good one.
Monday, Jack Wabbit and the Beanstalk, and What's Cooking Doc. And I want to show a clip of one of those never before released cartoons, What's Cooking Doc, directed by Bob Clampett.
And here inside, the excitement mounts to an even higher pitch. Who in this throng will be chosen for Hollywood's Hall of Fame? Who is the personality who will tonight reign as king of all movie land? That question, and that alone, is the paramount thought tonight. Who will win the Oscar?
It's in the bag. I'm a cinch to win. Rally I am. Hello, Cecil B. Hiya, Edward G. Greetings, Jerry. Hey, what do you say, Bing?
Burp.
Pardon me.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. The presentation of the Academy Award. I'm very happy to bring to you the name of the great actor to whom we feel this honor is due. This highest honor is being bestowed on an actor who, because of his consistently fine performances, richly deserves this trophy. A fine dramatic actor and also a master of refined comedy. A screen lover unexcelled and equally good in character roles. I now take extreme pleasure in presenting the Academy Oscar to that fine actor, your favorite and mine, our own James Cagney.
Hey, you guys have all the... Well, why, if it's sabotaging. I demand a recount. I'll leave it up to you intelligent people in this audience whether I deserve the Oscar or not.
You know, I when you ask fans what their favorite Bugs Bunny cartoon is, you'll hear like 1,000 of the same kind of ones bubbling to the top. Are there any Bugs Bunny cartoons that are obscure that you guys love and you want to tell the fans you should check this one out?
I don't know if it's considered obscure or not, but my favorite is Bob Clampett's Wabbit Trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the great.
Big Chungus, that's where Big Chungus is taking over the internet now.
that internet meme where
that internet meme when Bugs looks like Elmer, makes himself look like overweight Elmer.
Yep. I love overweight Elmer. It's so good.
I have a cartoon that's not, again, none of them are obscure, but one that I never hear anybody write about that I think is really good, and it's by McKimson. It's Acrobatty Bunny. It's the one.
I love that cartoon.
I love that
one. Yeah.
You know, Pinocchio, and and he does the Pagliacci thing, and I mean that's just the quintessential Bugs is disturbed. He gives the guy a chance, the lion, and then he spends the whole cartoon, extolling his wrath on the poor lion,
tormenting the poor guy.
Yeah, I love it. It's got everything.
And I think that was one of the problems we had in trying to make this set, is to come up with what we felt was a satisfying dish, when in fact you really want to give everybody everything.
Yeah.
And that's the dream.
Yeah.
The dream is that everybody can own everything, because everybody's got a particular favorite.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is with this set, if you're collecting Bugs Bunny, as you should be on video, you're going to, I can't say you're not going to complete the collection, but you're going to have literally most 90% or more of all the Bugs Bunnies when you get this new set. Because if you have all the other stuff, you'll have most of them. I think there's only a few. There's only a few that aren't, and Bugs did appear in an occasional you know, dare I say, he was in an occasional bomb, which
I would say he probably has the best track record of most performers in show business.
Right.
I agree.
Billy talked about Bugs singing, and it's like sometimes he, you know, my one of my favorites is Long Haired Hair, where he lives next door to the opera singer.
Oh, I love that.
What do they do on a rainy night in Rio?
You know, when he's singing all the musical instruments with the harp, and he gets, you know, but it's amazing how well, you know, how much of an amazing Mel Blanc. He was such a good singer.
He was a great singer.
Even when he tried to sound off key, it was funny, but he could actually really sing so well.
Right.
Well, it was in fact the fact that he had such a good voice, and Arthur Q. Bryan as Elmer had operatic training apparently as a young kid. That's what led to What's Opera Doc. And it doesn't get better than that.
We are winding down, guys, but I wanted to give you each a chance to tell me why you think Bugs Bunny has remained relevant for 80 years.
What's funny stays funny. And Bugs Bunny is inherently funny. He's not just his voice, not just his irreverence, but his outlook, his attitude. They're funny.
I think he's a mirror to our world and to all human beings, where we all see something of ourselves in Bugs and want to be like Bugs. And I think that's why he just transcends time. And he's a genuine great hero. He stands up for the little guy. When he's put upon, he unleashes. It's what we all wish we could do. We wish we could be the smartest guy in the room. We wish we could, you know, take on every bully and knock them down to size, that kind of thing. So I think that's what I love, and I think that's why, you know, he just will last forever.
I think, like Chuck Jones, I think somebody brought out that I kind of agree with him that, you know, we all want to be Bugs Bunny, but we're stuck with Daffy Duck is who we are.
For me personally, both as a fan and as a keeper of the vault, this is, if something is great entertainment, it will transcend time and it will remain that way. And even though some of the older cartoons have dated references of the era, people could look past that. I didn't know what an A card was from World War II when I watched these cartoons in the 70s.
Yeah.
But I found them hysterically funny, and generations after me will as well. And they will last forever. And that's why it's so incredibly important. And I'm so grateful to our company that we have a preservation program that will see to it that they will remain available for people to see for years to come.
I think 80 years later, I still want to thank out loud Mel Blanc for making me laugh so hard, giving me that cornerstone of a sense of humor that just lives with me every single day. And as a contributor to part of the legacy, I want to thank Jeff Bergman and Eric Bauza for the laughs too. I mean, I'm a contributor, but I love you both, and you're very important to me.
Oh,
likewise, sir. Likewise.
Thank you. Right back at you.
I have a question for Pete. Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Taking on these new shorts, there's a way that you have to honor the legacy.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's also a chance for you to kind of sneak in and go a little way you want to go. So in what ways have you honored who Bugs is, and in what ways have you made it unique and different for you?
Well, we definitely did a lot more honoring, I think, than we did sort of changing the direction. If anything, we kind of tried to go back in time before to a Bugs that was sort of before the Jones Bugs, where sort of taken over what we all know as Bugs Bunny, and we went more to a early 40s sort of Clampett, early Freeling and Avery Bugs, just for the energy and we felt like the character was a little bit more dynamic then. He had flaws. He would actually lose from time to time in a few cartoons, and it was a little bit more surreal at times as well. So we purposely went back to that. We also gave him yellow gloves, which is quite controversial on the internet these days. but that was all. It was partly because we loved those early ones where we actually had yellow gloves, like Elmer's Pet Rabbit and a few others. But also, it kind of makes us stand in this modern era, like, okay, this is our bugs that we're doing with our shorts that we're creating.
Right.
So it kind of makes it there. As far as sort of moving them forward, probably some of the language. He says things like fake news. He says things like, but that goes back to being satirical with Looney Tunes, commenting on our life, on current life, on our culture. He says things like boxed carrot water, stuff that he probably didn't have in the 40s.
Right.
He says like organic, is that organic, Doc? Stuff like that. So, we really, even his design, we went back to a very, we looked at that 42, 43 model sheet that McKimson drew.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our standard. I mean, I think that's the greatest looking bugs, in my opinion. Just the beauty and appeal of that model sheet. And we incorporated all kinds of little things, the gloves, how many whiskers, 2 or 3 whiskers, stuff like that. Very specific. So we did our homework. We all love these things. So it was all out of just trying to do bugs justice, because we took it very seriously. We cared about bugs a lot.
Love it. Love it. So this is for Billy, Jeff, and Eric. How do you each approach the Bugs voice, his attitude, all the special things about him? And is there a particular mindset you have to get yourself into to become Bugs Bunny?
Well, if we're going to go from today and backwards, as far as what Pete said, Looney Tunes Cartoons was definitely a different direction as far as, getting out of like the half-lidded sarcastic bugs from the Jones era and more the manic kind of, that unhinged energy that Mel Blanc had. The weird stuff where it wasn't even Bugs's voice, the "Ooh, I'm dying," like that weird non-Bugs Bunny voice that was clearly just a guy in a suit with a mustache, smoking indoors, drinking scotch during the day, wearing a 3-piece wool suit in a Warner Brothers warehouse somewhere in the 40s, burning garbage after his shift. But it's definitely that, the nasal New Yorky type voice, and it is such a hard voice to do. And, Mel Blanc is definitely the original gangsta of voiceover. He's the blueprint. But I am so thankful for people like Jeff Bergman and Billy West who carried the mantle and torch long enough for me to be a part of the family now. It's crazy to know that I got to watch these guys do it in the 90s. And if you want to talk about 80 years, you have to include that era, which for me, Jeff Bergman, I think vocal cord for vocal cord is one of the best follow-ups to Mel Blanc as far as getting every individual character.
Yep.
Box Office Bunny. I mean, my son and I watch that till our eyes are dry, till we can't blink anymore. And
that's
actually
30 years old. That's it's amazing, right?
Box Office Bunny, 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I actually got to work with Mr. Van Sitters on a commercial the other day, and I told him, I'm like, if you have any animated cells from that, I will buy them off of you.
He's so talented. Yeah.
Off of the Space Jam soundtrack, for me, it wasn't I Believe I Can Fly or Fly Like an Eagle from Seal. It was Billy West rapping to Jay-Z's. Who else in the history of the voice of Bugs Bunny could say that they rapped as Bugs Bunny without missing a beat? And, that was the most played track on my Space Jam CD. So thank you, Billy, for that.
No, I was really honored that I got to work with Jay-Z. At first, I wasn't sure who wrote it. And I just said, this is really cool. And there was some dude saying, you got to get behind the beat. And I wasn't sure what he was talking about.
Sean Carter.
Just get behind the beat a little bit and just let it kind of take you along. And I was like, no, I'm boom, boom, boom. But he learned me.
That's so awesome. But as far as approaching that voice, I not only had Mel Blanc to study, but I also had Jeff and I had Billy as teachers as well.
I love picturing the fact that you have the Warner Brothers Studio Orchestra having just finished playing Max Steiner's score to The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. And then He leaves the podium. Carl Stalling steps onto the podium, and the same orchestra plays for the new Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You guys are teeing me up perfectly because I wanted to show a clip from What's Opera Doc, which was directed by Chuck Jones. That is the classic Bugs Bunny musical number. And I want to say thank you to, Warner Brothers for making sure that kids learned about classical music. And I learned, my first time I heard classical music was through a Bugs Bunny cartoon. So let's see that clip from What's Opera Doc right now.
Quiet, I'm hunting rabbits. Wabbit wax. Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit.
Kill the wabbit?
Do you guys have a favorite Bugs Bunny team up? Like whether it be a character playing alongside Bugs or against him? And can you tell me why you chose that character?
Mine is I love A Falling Hair by Bob Clampett, and I love The Gremlin. And it's one of the only cartoons where Bugs kind of meets his match. And I saw that, I watched that cartoon a lot as a kid growing up, and they played it a lot on TNT, where I saw a lot of my Looney Tunes, when I was in junior high and high school. And I just love the energy of the character of Bugs in that one, and the fact that he's sort of getting outmatched, and the animation style and the speed of the cartoon is amazing. But yeah, we're bringing him back in one of the Looney Tunes cartoons, and it was one of the funnest ones we got to do because we sort of put Bugs against one of his foes he can't beat.
Love it. Anybody else?
Absolutely.
Aside from the obvious Elmer and Daffy, I like to call it the trio of rabbit fire, duck, rabbit, duck, and rabbit seasoning. That's like obvious, but for me, I like how 3 directors took an approach to Bugs and Cecil Turtle.
Yes. Yes. Such a cool. We watched those 3 a bunch because when we did a Cecil one as well. That's another character that Bugs meets his match, and it's very interesting how they all sort of their take on it.
Hair Devil Hair or Hasty Hair, anything that features Marvin the Martian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
An underrated cartoon that I think you'll all agree is great, because I think it's one of the best, is Operation Rabbit, the one with Wile E. Coyote.
Wiley.
Super Genius, yeah.
That whole cartoon is great as far as
incredible, yeah.
I've always loved the Greek dialect mother of the buzzard.
Oh yeah.
And she's a formidable opponent.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. Because as Chuck Jones always said, he needed formidable opponents. Right. He was so wily and so clever. Usually he had command of any situation. But this time, in Bugs Bunny Gets the Boy, it's not a shoo-in.
Yeah.
No.
I like Elmer Fudd. He's not formidable in any way, but we all got to sit there and watch a full-grown man with a 30-06, and little muffler flaps for his ears like he was 3, and you think it's going to be screaming, "I'll blast you now," and then his voice becomes this little delicate little like a child, you know what? I think that was the wabbit. And it's like everybody in the audience knows it. Everybody else in the whole world knows it's the rabbit. But to watch him bewildered trying to figure it out always was a really cool dynamic to me.
I love Racketeer Rabbit, which I think you mentioned is in the box set. That's one of my faves. Yeah, and the war film, the war bonds. I love the war references. I mean, it really puts you right in that time period.
mean, he went to war for the country.
That's right.
They really did. I mean,
Yeah.
they were the axis of evil. They were taking him on.
Well, none of you mentioned him, but here's Yosemite Sam's debut in Rabbit Every Monday, directed by Friz Freleng.
That corn-sorn idiot rabbit bit my nose! Come out of there, you flea-bitten varmint, before I blast the fur clean off on your carcass!
What's up, Doc?
What's up? Your time's up, Rabbit! Now get out of that gun!
I like it here. I just love the smell of gunpowder.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'll force you out! Now start praying, cause I'm a-blowing you to smithereenies at the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Goodbye, Rabbit!
Here we go again.
Well, I don't think we could end it better than that little love fest. I want to thank all of you panelists. I've learned so much about one of my favorite characters listening to you. I want to thank the audience for tuning in. And I want to remind you guys that the Bugs Bunny 80th Anniversary Collection is coming on Blu-ray on November 3rd from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. Thank you so much, you guys. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
And there's a final void. Goodbye.